The galaxy had seen many wars before. Empires had fought for power, planets had burned, and entire civilizations had vanished into dust. But never in history had the entire galaxy agreed on one thing. Until now. Humanity had become a problem. Inside the massive Galactic Council chamber, leaders from hundreds of alien civilizations sat in silence. The room was enormous, filled with floating holograms of star systems and fleets moving through space. Normally, the council was loud with arguments and political games. But today, no one argued. Because today they were discussing Earth. For years, humans had been growing stronger. Their technology improved faster than anyone expected. Their fleets became larger. Their weapons became more dangerous. And the most troubling thing of all, humans never followed the rules. Most civilizations waited centuries before expanding their power. Humans did it in decades. Some alien leaders feared them. Others hated them. Many simply did not trust them. Finally, one powerful empire made a proposal. Humanity must be stopped before it becomes unstoppable. The room fell quiet. Then one by one, the empires agreed. For the first time in galactic history, hundreds of alien civilizations united into a single military alliance. Their goal was simple. Destroy humanity before it was too late. Soon, thousands of war fleets began gathering in deep space. Ships from every corner of the galaxy arrived. Massive battlecruisers, carrier ships, drone swarms, and planet-killer weapons filled the darkness between the stars. It was the largest armada the galaxy had ever seen. Their destination was clear. Earth. When the fleets finally reached the edge of the Sol system, they stopped and formed a massive blockade. From a distance, the ships looked like a shining wall of metal stretching across space. No civilization had ever faced such a force. Inside the command ship of the Alliance fleet, the alien Supreme Commander watched the blue planet through a holographic screen. "So this is Earth," he said slowly. Several officers stood behind him. "Should we begin the attack?" one of them asked. The commander shook his head. "No. We will give them one chance." Moments later, a powerful broadcast signal was sent toward the planet. Across Earth, every communication system suddenly activated. Screens turned on in homes, cities, space stations, and ships. Billions of humans looked up as the message appeared. An alien figure stood on the screen. Its voice was cold and calm. "People of Earth. This is the Galactic Alliance. You have expanded too quickly. You have developed weapons that threaten galactic stability. For the safety of the galaxy, humanity must surrender its military power." The message paused for a moment. Then the alien continued. "You will dismantle your fleets and give control of your weapons to the Galactic Council. If you refuse, Earth will be destroyed." The broadcast ended. For a moment, the entire planet was silent. Alien commanders waited for panic. They expected riots, fear, and desperate messages begging for mercy. But none of that happened. Cities continued moving as normal. Human ships kept traveling through orbit. There were no emergency signals. Inside the Alliance command ship, confusion spread among the alien officers. "Commander, we are detecting something strange," one officer said. "What is it?" "Human fleet activity is increasing." The commander frowned. "Are they preparing to surrender their ships?" The officer shook his head slowly. "No, Commander." His voice became uneasy. "They are powering them up." At that moment, deep inside a hidden human command station beneath the surface of Earth, a single man stood in front of a large holographic display showing the alien fleets surrounding the solar system. He was Admiral Marcus Hale, commander of the Terran Defense Fleet. Behind him, dozens of officers waited for his order. The alien message had just finished playing. One officer spoke carefully. "Sir, the galaxy thinks we will surrender. Admiral Hale stared quietly at the massive alien armada on the screen. Then he smiled. They really don't understand humans. He turned toward the command crew. Send the signal. What signal, sir? Hale's smile grew slightly. The one we've been waiting 50 years to use. A second later, a powerful coded message shot out from Earth and traveled across the solar system. Hidden deep in asteroid fields, dark sides of moons, and secret shipyards far from any planet, thousands of human warships suddenly activated. Engines roared to life. Weapons powered up. And for the first time, the galaxy was about to see what humanity had truly been building. The Alien Alliance fleet surrounded the Sol system like a wall of steel. Thousands of ships floated in perfect formation. Massive carriers, heavy cruisers, drone swarms, and siege ships filled the darkness of space. Their weapons were ready, their shields were active, and their commanders were confident. No civilization had ever survived such a force. Inside the flagship of the Galactic Alliance, Supreme Commander Varric watched the holographic map of the solar system. Hundreds of alien officers stood around the command platform. Every screen showed the same thing. Earth. A small blue world surrounded by a few human defense ships. Varric crossed his arms slowly. So this is the great human empire, he said with a quiet laugh. One officer nodded. Our intelligence reports say their fleets are limited, Commander. Their ships are smaller than ours. Their numbers are lower. Another officer added, the humans expanded quickly, but their military power is still developing. Varric nodded calmly. Then this will end quickly. But suddenly, a sensor officer spoke. Commander, we are detecting new signals. Varric turned. What kind of signals? The officer looked confused. Activation signals. From where? The officer zoomed the holographic map outward. For a moment, nothing happened. Then small red lights began appearing across the system. One near Mars. Another inside the asteroid belt. Then dozens more appeared behind distant moons and hidden asteroid clusters. Within seconds, hundreds of signals appeared. Then thousands. The entire command room fell silent. What are those? One officer whispered. The sensor officer swallowed nervously. They are ships, Commander. Varric stared at the map. Impossible. Our scanners saw nothing earlier. The officer nodded slowly. They were hidden. Deep stealth fields, advanced masking technology. Another officer spoke with concern. How many ships are we detecting? The sensor officer's voice shook slightly. Still counting. More signals appeared every second. Then the final number appeared on the main display. 3,842 warships. The room became completely silent. Varric leaned closer to the hologram. Identify the ships. The computer scanned the signals. A moment later, the results appeared. Unknown class. Unknown weapons. Unknown power output. But one detail caught everyone's attention. Ship size. These were not small human ships. Some of them were enormous. One officer zoomed into the asteroid belt. What appeared on the screen made several alien commanders step back. A massive human ship slowly moved out from behind a giant asteroid. Its hull was dark black, covered in thick armor plating. Massive weapon batteries lined its sides. Its engines burned with bright blue energy. The ship was larger than most alien battlecruisers. What is that? An officer asked. Before anyone could answer, dozens more ships appeared behind it. Hidden shipyards opened inside the asteroid belt. Gigantic docking stations released more warships into space. These ships were even larger. Some were the size of small cities. Another officer whispered, these are not normal warships. Varric's eyes narrowed. What class are they? The human ships transmitted a signal across the battlefield. It was a simple identification code. The alien computers translated it instantly. Dreadnought class. The word echoed through the command chamber. Varric stared at the display. How many of these dreadnoughts are there? The sensor officer checked again. Commander, we are detecting over 200. A deep silence filled the room. Even the strongest alien empires only owned a few dreadnought-class ships. But humans had built hundreds. Hidden. Secret. Prepared. Then another alarm sounded. Commander, human fleets are moving. Varric looked at the tactical display. Thousands of human ships were now leaving their hidden positions. They formed attack formations with perfect coordination. Dreadnoughts moved to the front. Carrier ships deployed massive drone swarms. Fast strike ships spread across the battlefield. The entire Terran fleet moved like a single machine. Precise. Organized. Deadly. One alien officer spoke nervously. Commander, their fleet size is growing. Varric looked again. New signals were still appearing. Human ships were emerging from deep space jump points. Even more fleets were arriving. Reinforcements. How many ships do they have? Varric demanded. The sensor officer answered slowly. Commander, our estimates were wrong. How wrong? The officer looked at the screen again. Human fleet strength now exceeds 6,000 ships. Shock spread across the room. The alien alliance had expected a weak civilization. Instead they had discovered something else. A civilization that had been preparing for war. For decades. But the most frightening part was not the number of ships. It was how calm the humans were. No desperate messages. No negotiations. Just quiet preparation. Then a new signal appeared across every alien communication channel. A human voice. Calm. Confident. This is Admiral Marcus Hale of the Terran Defense Fleet. You have entered human territory with hostile intent. Leave the Sol system immediately. A pause followed. Then the Admiral's voice returned. Or we will remove you. Inside the alien command chamber, several officers stared at each other in disbelief. They had come to destroy humanity. But now, something felt wrong. Very wrong. Because the humans were not acting like a civilization about to die. They were acting like hunters. And the alien alliance had just stepped into their trap. For several seconds, the alien fleet stayed completely still. Thousands of ships floated in silence across the Sol system. Weapons were ready, shields were strong, and every commander watched the human fleet forming in front of them. But something had changed. Just minutes earlier, the alien alliance believed they were facing a weak and young civilization. Now the tactical screens showed something very different. A massive human fleet stood between them and Earth. Rows of enormous dreadnoughts moved slowly into position. Behind them, carriers released thousands of small attack drones that spread across space like a swarm of metal insects. Fast strike ships formed sharp attack lines, ready to move at incredible speed. Everything about the Terran fleet looked calm and controlled. Inside the alien flagship, Supreme Commander Varric studied the battlefield carefully. His officers were whispering nervously around him. Commander, their formations are perfect, one officer said. Another added, their ships are positioning faster than our fleets. Varric's eyes narrowed. Humans should not have this level of coordination. A third officer looked at the weapon readings. And their energy output is far above our estimates. Before anyone could say more, another voice spoke from the sensor station. Commander, human weapons are locking onto our forward fleets. Varric stood straight. Prepare all ships for combat. Across the battlefield, the alien alliance fleets activated their weapons. Thousands of plasma cannons powered up. Missile systems opened. Energy shields brightened across every alien ship. The galaxy's largest armada prepared for war. Then the first shot was fired. But it did not come from the aliens. One of the human dreadnoughts moved slightly forward. Its massive main cannon began to glow with deep blue energy. Inside the alien command room, officers watched the energy build. "What weapon is that?" someone asked. The sensor officer quickly scanned it. "Unknown weapon type." The energy reached maximum power. Then the cannon fired. A single beam of bright blue light shot across space. It traveled faster than most sensors could track. A moment later, the beam struck the center of an alien battle group. 3 heavy cruisers and 2 carriers disappeared instantly. Not destroyed. Gone. The beam cut through their shields and armor like they were made of paper. The ships exploded in silent flashes of fire. The battlefield froze. Alien commanders stared at their screens in disbelief. "That was one shot," an officer whispered. Then more human dreadnoughts began charging their weapons. Another beam fired. Then another. Entire alien formations began exploding across the battlefield. The Terran fleet had begun its attack. Panic spread through the Alien Alliance channels. "Shields failing. We are losing ships. Human drones approaching." Thousands of small Terran drones suddenly rushed toward the alien fleets. They moved quickly and unpredictably, slipping through defense fire. When the drones reached their targets, they exploded against the hulls of alien ships. One by one, the massive Alliance vessels began to fall. Inside the flagship, Supreme Commander Varric clenched his fists. "Return fire," he shouted. At once, the alien fleets launched their full attack. Millions of plasma bolts and missiles filled space as they raced toward the Terran fleet. The void of space lit up like a storm of fire. But the human ships did not panic. Their shields absorbed many of the attacks. Their smaller ships moved with incredible speed, dodging and counterattacking. Human fighters and drones slipped through alien formations and struck weak points with deadly precision. Within minutes, the battlefield turned into chaos. Alien fleets that had trained for centuries suddenly found themselves struggling to survive. Ships crashed into each other while trying to avoid Terran weapons. Communication channels filled with desperate messages. "This is impossible. The humans are predicting our movements. We cannot break their formations." Varric watched the disaster unfold on the main display. Dozens of alien ships had already been destroyed. And the Terran fleet had barely taken any damage. For the first time since the invasion began, the alien commander felt something he had not expected. Fear. One officer slowly spoke. "Commander, their tactics are unlike anything we have studied." Another officer added quietly, "It's like they've fought wars like this before." Varric stared at the screen again. But this time he noticed something strange. The Terran fleet was not using all of its power. Many human ships were still holding position. Waiting. Varric suddenly understood something terrifying. This is not their full strength. The command room fell silent again. Then a sensor officer spoke with a shaking voice. "Commander, we are detecting a massive hyperspace signature." Varric turned quickly. "From where?" The officer pointed at the edge of the solar system. Everyone looked at the display. Space twisted and rippled as something enormous began emerging from hyperspace. The object was larger than any ship ever recorded. As the massive shadow slowly appeared on the screen, one alien officer whispered the thought everyone was afraid to say. "What have the humans just brought into this battle?" The battlefield suddenly grew quiet. Not because the fighting had stopped. Human weapons were still firing, alien ships were still exploding, and drones continued to swarm across the battlefield. But something else had captured everyone's attention. At the far edge of the Sol system, space itself began to twist. A massive hyperspace rupture opened like a giant scar in the darkness. Energy waves spread across nearby sensors, forcing several alien ships to shut down their scanners. Inside the alien flagship, Supreme Commander Varric stared at the screen. "What is that?" he demanded. The sensor officer looked terrified. "Commander, something is coming through hyperspace." "How large?" The officer hesitated. "Too large." Everyone in the command room turned toward the main holographic display. Slowly, something enormous began emerging from the glowing tear in space. At first, only a small section appeared. Dark metal. Thick armor. Massive glowing engines. Then more of the object appeared. And more. And more. Within seconds, the entire alien command crew realized something impossible. It was a ship. But not like any ship they had ever seen. The vessel was gigantic. It was longer than entire alien cities. Its surface was covered with heavy armor layers, massive cannon batteries, missile towers, and shield generators that glowed like small stars. Several smaller Terran ships flew beside it, looking tiny compared to the massive structure. One alien officer whispered, "That cannot be a warship." The computer finally finished scanning it. The results appeared on the screen. Unknown class vessel. Estimated length, 42 kilometers. Energy output, immeasurable. Weapon systems, unknown. The room fell silent. Then the ship transmitted its identification code. Titan-class super dreadnought. Terran flagship. Titan of Soul. The words echoed through the alien command chamber. Varric slowly stepped closer to the holographic display. "This is impossible," he said quietly. "No civilization builds ships this large." But the humans had. The Titan of Soul continued moving forward slowly. As it entered the battlefield, the fighting around it seemed small. Explosions from alien ships looked like sparks next to the massive war machine. Terran dreadnoughts moved aside to make space for it. Almost as if they were showing respect. Inside the Titan of Soul, Admiral Marcus Hale stood in the command bridge. The bridge was enormous, filled with human officers watching the battlefield through massive holographic displays. One officer spoke calmly. "Admiral, the Titan has entered combat range." Hale nodded slightly. "Target an alien fleet formation." Another officer scanned the battlefield. "There are multiple targets, sir." Hale looked at the display. Thousands of alien ships still surrounded the solar system. But now they were disorganized. Some fleets were retreating. Others were still trying to fight the Terran ships. Hale pointed to one large alien fleet cluster. "That one." "Yes, sir." The Titan of Soul began charging its main weapon. Across the battlefield, alien sensors suddenly screamed warnings. Energy levels began rising rapidly. Inside the alien flagship, officers shouted. "Commander!" Massive energy spike detected. Varric looked at the screen. The Titan's main cannon was glowing brighter than any weapon he had ever seen. "What kind of weapon is that?" someone asked. No one answered. Because no one knew. The Titan fired. A single beam of pure white energy shot across space. It was so bright that many sensors shut down instantly. The beam struck the center of the alien fleet. For a brief moment, nothing happened. Then the entire fleet disappeared. Ships, fighters, carriers, cruisers. Hundreds of vessels vanished in a massive explosion that lit up the darkness of space. The shockwave spread across the battlefield. Even distant ships felt the energy ripple. Inside the alien command chamber, no one spoke. Hundreds of ships, destroyed with one shot. Varric stared at the empty space where the fleet had once been. For the first time since the war began, he understood the truth. They had made a terrible mistake. The humans had not been weak. They had simply been waiting. Suddenly, the Galactic Alliance sent an emergency message. A surrender broadcast. The signal reached every human ship. Inside the Titan of Sol, the message appeared on Admiral Hale's screen. Terran forces, this is the Galactic Council. We request immediate ceasefire. We surrender. The officers on the bridge looked toward Hale. For a moment, the Admiral said nothing. Outside the massive window, burning alien ships drifted through space. Human fleets surrounded the battlefield. Then Hale finally spoke. His voice was calm. Cold. You came to destroy our home. He paused. Then he gave the order that would change the galaxy forever. Prepare the fleet. One officer looked at him carefully. Sir, the enemy is surrendering. Hale stared at the battlefield. Yes. His voice was steady. But they still need to learn a lesson. Across the solar system, thousands of Terran ships powered up their weapons again. And the alien alliance realized something terrifying. The humans were not finished yet. Across the Sol system, the battlefield burned. Pieces of destroyed alien ships drifted slowly through space. Fires still glowed from broken hulls, and silent wrecks floated between the stars. What had started as the largest invasion in galactic history had turned into something very different. It had become a warning. The alien alliance fleets were broken. Many ships were damaged, others were fleeing, and some had already powered down their weapons completely. But the Terran fleet still held perfect formation. Thousands of human warships surrounded the battlefield like a silent wall. Dreadnoughts held their positions. Carrier ships continued releasing patrol drones. Strike ships moved through the debris, watching every alien vessel carefully. At the center of it all stood the massive Titan of Sol. The giant super-dreadnought floated quietly near Earth, its enormous cannon still glowing with leftover energy from its last shot. Inside the alien flagship, Supreme Commander Varric stared at the disaster around him. The holographic battlefield display was filled with warning symbols. Destroyed ships. Damaged fleets. Retreat signals. For the first time in his long military career, Varric understood that the war was already lost. An officer stepped forward. Commander, more fleets are retreating. They are leaving the system. Varric did not respond. Another officer spoke with a worried voice. The Terran fleet has surrounded us. If they choose to attack again, we will not survive. The command room was silent. Then the communications officer spoke. Commander, the Galactic Council is requesting that we repeat the surrender signal. Varric closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, the proud alien commander looked older. The confidence he once carried was gone. Send it, he said quietly. Across the entire battlefield, a new broadcast signal spread through every communication channel. This is the Galactic Council speaking to all Terran forces. We accept defeat. All Alliance fleets will withdraw from the Sol system immediately. We request mercy. The message echoed across space. Inside the Titan of Sol, Admiral Marcus Hale watched the transmission appear on the command screen. The officers around him waited. No one spoke. Finally, Hale folded his arms. Are the alien fleets retreating? He asked. A tactical officer checked the sensors. Yes, Admiral. Many of them are leaving the system. Any ships still preparing to attack? No, sir. Hale studied the battlefield one more time. Thousands of alien ships were slowly turning away from Earth. Engines ignited as they began jumping toward hyperspace. The invasion fleet was running. One officer stepped forward carefully. Admiral, do we pursue them? For several seconds, Hale remained silent. Outside the massive windows of the Titan, Earth floated peacefully in the distance. Blue oceans. White clouds. The home of humanity. Finally, the Admiral shook his head. No. The officer looked surprised. No, sir. Hale turned toward the command crew. They came here to destroy us. But today they learned something important. He looked back at the battlefield. They learned what happens when you threaten humanity. Moments later, a new Terran broadcast signal spread across the galaxy. Every alien ship received it. Every government. Every military command. The message was simple. This is the Terran Defense Fleet. Today you came to our home with the largest armada in galactic history. You believed humanity was weak. You believed we would surrender. The message paused. Then Admiral Hale's voice continued. You were wrong. Across the galaxy, billions of alien citizens watched the live battlefield recordings. Burning fleets. Destroyed ships. And the massive titan of Sol guarding Earth. The message continued. Humanity does not seek war. But if anyone threatens our world again. Hale's voice became colder. We will not ask for peace. We will answer with fire. The broadcast ended. In the following hours, the last alien fleets jumped out of the Sol system. The battlefield slowly became quiet again. The invasion was over. But the story spread across the galaxy faster than any ship could travel. For centuries afterward, alien civilizations would remember the same lesson. They would remember the day when the entire galaxy united against Earth. And failed. Because humans were not the weakest species among the stars. They were something far more dangerous. They were patient. They prepared in silence. And when the moment finally came, humanity did not beg for mercy. The galaxy did.